Welcome to another edition of trying to figure out what in the fuck is going on in the world of today. What? The first 5 episodes were all about Buffalo Bills football, and now that we're out of the NFL season and onto the Super Bowl, and Buffalo's not there, we can talk about whatever. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about a blog I wrote.
Woke clichés.
A joke, I guess. I don't really know.
Woke clichés.
Yep, woke clichés. So the blog is really a summary of past blogs I've written about woke culture and woke ideology. There are Democrats, left thinkers out there that aren't woke, say that woke doesn't exist. Well, it does exist. We don't really see it too much here in Southwest Florida, basically because woke comes here to die. Most of the people here that live in at least my area, they don't think in those terms. I don't believe in tails because I'm not heads, and I don't believe in heads because I'm not tails, and vice versa. I have my own way of thinking, and I don't need a side to tell me how to think correctly. And it just seems like both sides tend to really sort of just run over each other. But anyways, Konstantin Kisin, who is a political personality in the UK, recently spoke at Oxford Union about wokeness going too far in our societies, meaning not just American society or English society, but all societies. The only thing that wokeness has to offer is to brainwash bright young minds to believe that you're victims, to believe that you have no agency, to believe that what you must do to improve the world is to complain, is to protest, is to throw soup on paintings. Just because you want something to be real, and you really want it to be real, doesn't in fact make it real. That is not the process as to which concepts become real facts in our reality. Pseudo literally translates to fake, phony, made up, pretend. Air quotes, facts, and that's it. And you see it on TV over and over and over again. You have the news that displays opinions and bad information as everyday facts, and that's just not true either. Both sides, left and right, doesn't matter. I mean, the left does it way more than the right does. The right now is more concentrated on just proving the left wrong at every which way they turn, where the left just continues to call racism. Every time they have an argument, it's racist. If we don't support something that they support, we're racist, or we hate women or something along those lines. We can never just judge people based on their merits. If you lose your job because you do a bad job, what does it matter what color your skin is or what religion that you practice? But the left want to bring that to the surface as the only reason why people in their belief structure keep getting into trouble, or they lose their job due to bad performance or something they said on the news or TV. And playing ignorant doesn't work anymore. You don't know what's going on around you. You shouldn't be in a position of authority at all. You should never be in charge of making laws for other people to be governed by if you yourself don't even have your own thinking in check or your own house in check. You know, people are very comfortable with being miserable, and they will make their decisions based on that whole premise that it can't upset the balance too much because they're comfortable. They're comfortable with being miserable, and they don't want to change because it's hard. Well, change is hard. It's supposed to be hard. It's always been hard. If we go back into the past and change what hard actually means to make it less hard so people who aren't up to the task can now achieve said goal, then we've taken struggle out of the equation. And how can you learn anything about yourself if you don't struggle at it? In order to be great at something, you have to miserably fail at it first. So how are we supposed to get better as a society, better as people, if we're constantly going backwards under the pretense that it's progressive? I don't believe that. Simply do not believe it. There is a disease out there. People's expectations of becoming important or famous in their own minds far outweigh the work they actually did to give them the perception of reality Having that sort of inflated sense of self, all based on nothing, or at the very least, not much at all. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about concepts. Conceptual awareness is, let's see how I can break this down. How do you think babies learn not to touch hot boiling water or a hot stove, or put bugs or dirt in their mouth when they're playing in the garden? I mean, this isn't stuff that you learn in school. No, you learn from your parents. Conceptual awareness, perceptual awareness. Know where your exits are. Know that if you're speaking and it's upsetting somebody, maybe it's the words that you're speaking that are upsetting the person, not that the person's just upset. You gotta know where your exits are. You have to know what's going on around you. You have to know the difference between right and wrong. These are things that come from growth within the family dynamic. The woke want to take that control away from the family dynamic. The problem with that is that these people have their own agenda for conceptual awareness. So these are things that the child should learn at home, not in schools, not by anybody other than the parent. I don't know why this is such a problem for our society to understand in some respects. I just never understood. I still don't understand it. I didn't understand it when I was a kid. I don't understand it now. Why other people want to project themselves or what they deem as right and wrong onto everybody. And that's what I really have a problem with, is like, look, you can't tell me that this food that you're trying to serve me is good for human consumption, because when I did the research and looked at that food, I found out that all it is poop. That you literally took poop, took the things out of poop to make it smell and taste weird or nasty or disgusting, and replaced it with like fruit flavor of some kind, and then told me it's good for human consumption. And I'm supposed to trust you or believe you on that. No, I don't think so. It's still poop at the end of the day. You're not going to con me into thinking that this thing that's obviously bad, that's deemed bad, that has a large contingent of people who make decisions that deem things right and or wrong, or fact and or theory, and they all agree that this is a bad idea, but yet you're going to tell me it's a good idea. That's exactly what woke is. That's exactly what woke is. It's trying to convince you that the things that you already know for a fact to be right or wrong you're already wrong, and you need to be re-educated. It amazes me to see how many people have this inflated belief in themselves that they can manifest their future. That's true to a certain extent, but it's not verbatim true, and that's part of the problem as well, is that there's these concepts out there that they're teaching our young people, and they're teaching it to them as if it is everyday factual occurrences, and that's just not reality. That is not reality. You cannot just sit in a room and manifest your destiny and expect things to happen without doing the prerequisites of what it takes to get there. You can't be a doctor by just wishful thinking and expecting to be a doctor someday. No, you have to go to medical school. You have to pass all those medical exams. You have to go in front of the medical board and explain to them why you should be a doctor. There's all kinds of things you have to do in order to be a doctor. Simply wishful thinking and manifestation isn't one of those prerequisites. But that's part of what the woke does. They go back and they take a definition of a word or a concept, and they try to befuddle that definition, the meaning of that definition, and use words out of context to change the meaning of it. So now the people that couldn't attain that feat now can attain that feat. But all you did was dummy down the feat. So if we made it easy for everybody to become doctors, the quality of our medical care would be even worse than it is already, and it is pretty bad. It isn't just one of those things that you wake up in the morning and decide, you know what, I really feel like I know a lot about medical stuff, even though I've never really looked at it before, but I'm an expert at the field, and I should be treated with the respect of someone that is in the medical field because I identify with being knowledgeable in the medical field. We're teaching our young people that if you want to be heard, that you have to throw a huge emotional and very public display of outrage with the intention of being militant about it. And you notice that lately. Now they're perverting violence into something that is okay to do as long as you don't kill anybody. But even that is starting to get perverted now. That's not how we solve problems. We don't solve problems by protesting and complaining and crying and screaming racism and sexism. No, we go and have conversations and find out exactly what the problem is, and we take steps to try to correct the problem. We use critical thinking, we use logic, we use common sense, we use experience. We don't use belief, faith to solve these big problems. You know why? Because they're based on things that aren't factual. You only believe them to be factual. That isn't one and the same. Yes, they have some things that overlap. Absolutely. Those concepts of belief and fact are not interchangeable. They do sometimes overlap, though. But the woke's mission is to make belief and fact this one and the same. You can't do that. Cannot do that conceptually. And that's where we have a big, big problem with there. I mean, yeah, cliche is subjective. It's opinionated. But, at the end of the day, I don't want to be one of those people. And I would hope the people that follow me and the people that I know and I'm friends with and hang out with don't want to be cliches either. We're getting way off fucking topic here. Is what it is. It's okay, but if you're going to be one of those people and to have, like, if you're going to be woke and you're going to, talk about racism and terrorism and the right side this and that, don't be a walking cliche of the very thing that you're bitching about. I mean, it's almost like now when we watch the news, we see these people that complain about stuff and they're just cliches. You can see it in the way that the way they look, the way they dress, the way they talk, and how they roll their eyes at anything that has anything to do with questioning their stance. I mean, last time I checked, if you say something, make a bold statement, and that statement is absolutely wrong, people usually say something about it. But now in today's culture, if you do that, there's backlash. So you can't just tell somebody they're wrong anymore, even if you have proof to suggest that they are wrong. It's not about that. It's about their false narrative. And if you go against that false narrative, you're in trouble. You're either going to be bullied, you're going to be canceled, you could be deplatformed, you could lose all your sponsorships. You could lose your sponsorships for not even saying anything, for just not saying something. I mean, we see tragedies every single day now, and it's almost like clockwork when you see celebrities posting something on Twitter about the tragedy, and it's like they don't care. They really don't care. They're being told, or their publicist is posting on their behalf to have a voice in a situation where they normally wouldn't have a voice. And I don't have a problem with celebrities having voices, but if you're going to stand by something, then stand by it. And don't just do it for virtual signaling and gaslighting. That's just absolutely ridiculous that we see, like, the Dave Batistas of the world or the Rocks of the world. I noticed that they're all pro wrestlers, sorry. But these, like, pseudo celebrities or celebrity types who, tell us that they're working so hard, but yet, obviously everything is done for them for the most part, and all they have to do is get on front of a camera and just act like they're, speaking truth, but in reality, it's all an act. It's all an act. I mean, I'm not going to trust what somebody says on camera. I mean, because what they do on camera is pretend to be other people to deliver a message for a living. And they've done this for a long time. So at what point do you say, hey, is this worth it? Is it worth getting involved in? Is it worth burning your energy with all these, like, verbal rants, either be it on TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, be it politically or not political, because everything's political now. You can't have a stance on anything without it being political. You're either right or you're left. Well, I'm not left, obviously. I lean right because the left is so fucking stupid. But I'm not right. Because I don't agree with everything the right does. I mean, I sometimes agree with Ben Shapiro. Sometimes. But not all the time. And most of the time, I can see the virtual signaling for what it is. Or this video has been sponsored by this company, and we'll spend half the video talking about some product that we don't need, want, or asked for, but yet there it is. There it is. I've written several blogs about this over the last 2 years, but I think this one really kind of condenses the ideas the most, at least in the short term. I mean, I have blogs out there that are 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 words long, where this one's only like 1,300 words long. So, I mean, the mission really is to condense these things into a format that people want to look at and read rather than taking their phone and going, oh my God, that's too much work. It takes up the whole screen. I have to scroll 2 times to read the whole thing. That's so much. But in reality, it's probably like 1,000 words, if that. If that. So, I mean, the attention span of people with their phones these days is so small and so short that you're only getting an abbreviated version of what the message actually is. And I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying very hard not to abbreviate so much of my message that I have to dilute it and shorten it to such a level of a degree that it loses its tone and it loses the uniqueness of my, pain in the ass type voice or mentality. I've been called, hyper alpha at times or hyper masculine, and that's fine. I know that I'm not, but I can see where people that are the extreme opposite of my personality type would see that. So, I mean, I do see both sides of the coin. I just don't care to indulge myself too long in that thought process because it's fucking stupid. Defining this whole woke thing in such a way that it kind of sort of floats over into feminism. It floats over into left-right thinking. It floats into religion. It floats into politics. That's why everything that you mention these days is some kind of it's politics. Even though you don't want it to be politics, it's politics. Just like the ancient alien guy. It's not aliens, but it's aliens. You can't build facts on just opinions, belief, and faith. Does some of that creep into the fact gathering process? I mean, when you have a theory, that's what a theory kind of is. It's a series of beliefs that you think could possibly be proven to be real. And when you test that scientifically, you test it over and over and over again, and you get the same result over and over and over again. That's how you deem a thing to be real and how you deem a thing to be fact. Simply putting up air quotes and saying facts is not a fact. And that's exactly what politicians or political personalities will do. They're always saying facts. And when somebody says facts, that pretty much means it's not a fact. To me, I've already dismissed what they're saying as an opinion, and I've already tuned out because they're trying to bait me into something. They're trying to convince me, like car salesman mentality. They're trying to convince me this is what I should be doing, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's one of those things where we're going to change the definition of it. We don't like what this means. We want it to mean what we want it to mean. And that's exactly how words like woke start. They get used over and over and over again on social media and in the media in the wrong context until the word adapts its new definition. And the left side has done this over and over and over and over again, and they just double down on it. And whenever you call them out on it or you point to what they're saying is actually wrong, you wind up getting blacklisted or called a racist or a sexist or whatever other term or label they want to throw on you that'll destroy your credibility, be it in person or on the internet, especially if you have a following. I don't have a really big following. I mean, a couple thousand people pay attention to what I'm doing, but that's not enough. That's not enough to really make any noise, or is it even enough to make a living off of unless you're some girl on OnlyFans? Then I guess 1,000 people subscribing to your page is probably pretty profitable. If you allow woke mentality to do it how they want to do it, how can you trust what they're teaching kids is correct? You can't. And they aren't. They're people who have their own agenda for conceptual awareness. If your child walks through life thinking a thing, anything, whatever the thing is right, but in actuality they're wrong and they were taught wrong from the start, that's a really hard problem to deal with, because you have to stop, unteach them what they already know, expect them to not pick up more bad habits along the way, then teach them correctly without them reverting back to the old thinking. That is much, much more difficult a task than, say, teaching them correctly from the start. The analogy we used in the fitness realm was golf swing. If you're a self-taught golfer and you've been golfing 10, 15, 20 years and you have a kink in your swing and you're tired of that kink and you decide to go get professional help, and they tell you, hey, you've been doing this wrong the whole time. It's going to take us months of training to undo what you already know, reteach you, and then make it habitual, that that's habit forming, that you can now progress and learn. Exploitation is a nasty business. It's an evil game inside the game of evil that's already being played out. When you see politicians and or political personalities that just, they want to use tragedies, this tragedy or that tragedy, whatever it might be, as an excuse to project their beliefs onto the masses, those are the people that we need to not vote into office or vote out of office. Never allow them to make policies or laws to govern other people, because they do not have people's best interest in mind. They have their own best interest in mind. The thing about the news is you have false data displayed as facts. We used to trust that what was on the news was real, conceptually and for real, in reality. Now it's not like that. Now they literally can say whatever they want and it doesn't even have to match anything. There's nobody checking. The fact checkers, they're fact checkers. But what does that even mean in 2023? Fact checker. I mean, you're going to go and look up something, and based on what? I mean, is that information that you're looking up factual? I mean, all information on the internet is not created equal. We know that. And that's part of what woke is applying this one in the same mentality down the board on everything and not even exploring it any further. And if you challenge the status quo of that, you are attacked. You are bullied. You are canceled. All your luxuries are taken away. For what? Because I'm actually telling you that something is wrong and you're actually trying to tell me that it's right, even though it's widely accepted by the people that turn theories into facts. It's widely accepted that those people say it's wrong. But yet I'm wrong for bringing it up, for even pointing out that it could be wrong. You displayed it as a fact, but it's clearly not a fact. See, we go into this song and dance and hamster wheel over and over and over again, and it's confusing. I mean, it's no accident that we have stupid people in Washington on both sides of the coin. This isn't just my platform is not a right-sided Republican platform. I lean right, sure, but it doesn't mean that I am right because I'm not left. Hopefully you were taught this when you were young, because you should have been. And that is, don't try to react to something emotionally. Be cool, calm, collected. Don't let your emotions dictate your actions. Do you want to know why we say that? Do you want to know why we teach that to people? Because they can't react correctly if they're emotionally compromised. People who are flipping out in their head or hysterical more than likely are not going to make a good decision. They're probably going to make a really bad decision. Here we are. We're teaching our kids to do this. This is something that we're indoctrinating our kids to believe. That if you want to be heard, you need to be extremely emotional about it. You need to be very public about it. And you need to be downright militant about it, or you will not be heard and you will not be respected. That's what we're teaching our young people. That's a bad idea. It's a very bad idea. Make that outright assumption just based on the very little. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making these big, huge decisions and calling them facts when all they really are is belief, and they're not based on anything that has any substance. You don't want fake ideologies like the woke ideology teaching your kids what right and wrong is, because we're not going to get anywhere. We're going to go backwards under the pretense of progression. We'll be going backwards. Progression is forwards, but we're going backwards. See what I mean? To me, woke is trying to make a bad idea sound like a good idea and then chastise everybody else for not agreeing with you. That to me is woke in a nutshell. You're never going to convince me that poop is for human consumption. I don't care what you put in it and what you take out of it to dress it up, make it not look or smell like poop. I'm still not going to put that in my fucking mouth. There's no fucking way. I'm not doing that, because you're never going to convince me that this is good for human consumption. Your sales skills suck if you think that that's true and that you can sell people on that idea. But that's just an easy way of describing a really huge problem in our society right now.